travelers, I'm Wheelchair Jimmy and I'm rolling through Zion National Park today. It is spectacular. We drove here from Phoenix on our way to Seattle, and Zion is located on the southern border of Utah, just across the Arizona border. You know, it's about a 6-hour drive from Phoenix, a 2.5-hour drive from Las Vegas, and 3.5 hours north of the Grand Canyon. You know, when planning your trip to Zion, I'd advise booking a room in Springdale, Utah. More on Springdale and hotels in a minute. Zion National Park itself includes mountains, buttes, mesas, rivers, natural arches, and it's just amazing. You know, both the town of Springdale and Zion Park are situated at the bottom of a relatively level canyon, so you're always looking up at the canyon walls as opposed to looking down at nearby Bryce Canyon. And Zion is absolutely breathtaking. And it's all connected with wheelchair-accessible shuttle buses that include 9 stops along the way, and you can get on or off as often as you'd like. We made a couple stops so we could stroll along the beautiful river which runs through the canyon. And the concrete walkways are generally quite wide, well-maintained, reasonably level, and very wheelchair-accessible. You know, admittedly, I didn't go the full length of the canyon, but there's plenty of accessible territory throughout this magnificent natural wonder. With respect to driving your vehicle, the Zion Canyon Scenic Drive is only available to park shuttle buses unless you have a special permit. Now, these can be obtained from the Visitor Center or the Museum Information Desk with documentation on medical condition. For our visit, we booked our hotel in Springdale, drove our vehicle to the Visitor Center, and then took the accessible shuttle buses throughout the park. Your initial stop at the Visitor Center is fully wheelchair accessible, including accessible parking and accessible restrooms. One of our stops along the scenic drive was at the Zion Lodge. We had some lunch here, did some shopping, and just relaxed a bit. You know, I inquired about accessible rooms at Zion Lodge, which is a large, gorgeous, rustic lodge, and I was told they now have 4 wheelchair accessible rooms. The dining room is upstairs. It's also accessible via elevator. It's important to note, however, that without that special parking permit, you are not able to drive into this portion of the Zion Park. Regarding Springdale hotels, during our visit, we stayed at the Holiday Inn Express, which is relatively new, very nice, and very wheelchair accessible. The guest room itself and the bathroom and the bed height, all very wheelchair accessible, although the guest bathroom sink was located just outside the bath area and was only 27 inches high. You know, that was great for me, but perhaps too low for others. And just across the very level parking lot is Jake's Restaurant. You know, we just had an exceptional dinner. They offer a complete fine dining menu, a bar, and an accessible restroom. You know, I highly recommend Jake's Restaurant. You know, after dinner, we strolled back to the hotel, sat outside at the outdoor fire pit, and just had a beautiful evening. Springdale itself is a charming little town with several nice hotels and B&Bs, many of which looked wheelchair accessible. And it too is connected with wheelchair accessible buses, which make stops throughout Springdale, including the Visitor Center. You know, the town is quite level with generally wide concrete sidewalks, making the entire town very convenient for wheelchair travelers. You know, we could have easily stayed several nights in Springdale, enjoyed the shops and magnificent setting, and even rolled between the Holiday Inn Express and the Visitor Center. Overall, Zion National Park, the Visitor Center, the museum, the restrooms, the picnic area, Zion Lodge, all very wheelchair accessible. There are also wheelchair accessible trails and hikes available, and several campsites are reserved for persons with disabilities. You know, I brought my service dog Pancho, and he was permitted on leash throughout the park and on the shuttle buses. Zion National Park is one of the most beautiful and wheelchair accessible national parks in all of America. And if traveling here, Bryce Canyon National Park is only 1.5 hours away. Check out my videos on Bryce. For planning purposes, plan to spend a full day or 2 or 3 at Zion, and perhaps only 2 to 4 hours at Bryce. You know, Zion is far more accessible, and there's much more to see and do. It is really spectacular. Roll on, travelers!